Good morning to you all. Mr. Siminya.
Good morning to you, Chair, and to the commissioners. We have the evidence of Advocate Mashabane this morning.
Yes. Good morning, Advocate Mashabane. Yes. Will you give your evidence under oath or affirmation?
Under oath.
Do you swear that the evidence you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. Your witness, is it Mr. Nalani?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Nalani.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and the commissioners.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Good morning, Council.
Thank you. Advocate Mashabane, you have been called to come and assist this commission with sharing information to the extent that you have about its work, which is the terms of reference. You understand that?
I do understand.
And in preparation for giving your evidence, you have given 2 affidavits, correct?
That's correct.
You have a bundle in front of you, and if you turn to page 2328,
Yes.
you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You have given an affidavit, and if you turn to 2330, there's a signature there against the affidavit. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Whose signature is that?
I confirm that to be my signature.
You confirm this contents of this affidavit.
Yes.
You also deposed to a supplementary affidavit. It appears on page 2331. Are you there?
Yes.
And if you turn to 2337, there's a signature on that affidavit.
Yes.
Is that your signature?
I confirm my signature.
And you confirm the contents of this affidavit.
Yes, I do save for the paragraph 19 that...
Yes, we'll deal with that next. If there are any corrections which you want to bring to the attention of the commission,
Yes.
you can go ahead. Is there anything that you want to correct?
Yes, in that 2337, under paragraph 19, there's a typo there that has omitted a note in the penultimate sentence. So if maybe just I read the whole of it, we'll read. This affidavit is intended to provide a commission with a context regarding the respective roles of the Minister, the National Prosecuting Authority, and the Director General. I've done so by illustrating the different roles played by the Minister, the National Director of Public Prosecution, and the Director General. In doing so, I confirm that I have not, so between the have and the been, there should be a not. I have not been involved in any attempt to stop, pause, delay, or interfere with the investigation or prosecution of TRC cases. That's the typo that I wanted to correct, Council.
Thank you.
I thought for the first time we're getting someone who confessed.
And that will have made the life of this commission much easier.
Thank you. Advocate Mashabane, I must upfront point out to you that you are not implicated in any of the issues that the commission has to deal with. And the reason you've been called is as a result of what is called request for assistance with information. You understand that?
I do understand.
And that request appears from page 2339. You have that?
Yes, I do.
And just to contextualize and just summarize again the business that the commission has to deal with, that was set out to you at paragraph 2 of the request for assistance with information. And just to recap, the terms of reference require that, among other things, the Commission must inquire into, make findings on, and make recommendations concerning whether, why, and to what extent and by whom efforts were made to influence or pressure members of the Southern Police Service or the National Prosecuting Authority to stop investigating or prosecuting TRC cases. You see that?
I do.
And it is common cause that you were a Director General in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Department from March 2021 until February 2026, correct?
That's correct.
And it is in that context that you've been asked to assist the Commission, because the Department of Justice would be one of the departments responsible over, in general terms, prosecutions and NPA. You understand that?
I do understand that.
If we turn to your first affidavit, appearing on page 2328.
I have it.
Yes. You state in paragraph 2, that you served as the Director General of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development from March 2021 until February 2026. You also say during this period you served as the head of department and accounting officer in terms of the Public Service Act 1994 and the Public Finance Management Act 1999.
That's
Correct?
correct.
And so those two pieces of legislation would, in the main, define what your functions would have been as a Director General. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
I'm going to read to you briefly. No, you don't have to have that, but the Annexed Act on Public Service Act of 1994, which deals with a head of department and Director General. Chapter 3 of the PSA deals with organization and staff, and it deals with public service departments and heads of departments. 7.1 says the public service established by section 197.1 of the Constitution shall be structured and organized as provided for in this act. And section 2 says the purpose of the administration of the public service shall be a national departments and offices of the Premier mentioned in column 1 of chapter 1, schedule 1. It is common cause that you were in a national department, correct?
That's correct.
And then 7.3 says, 3A, each department shall have a head who shall be the incumbent of the post on the establishment bearing the designation mentioned in column 2, schedule 1, 2, or 3, opposite the name of the relevant department or component or the employee who is acting in that post. So if we're talking about each department, that would be your Department of Justice that you were heading, correct?
That's correct, Counsel.
And then 3B says, subject to the provisions of paragraph C and D, a head of department shall be responsible for the efficient management and administration of his or her department, including the effective utilization and training of staff, the maintenance of discipline, the promotion of sound labor relations, and the proper use and care of state property, and he or she shall perform the functions that may be prescribed. In your understanding of this provision, and as a former head of department, what does it mean in simpler terms, if you can explain that?
In simple terms, that as a Director General, you are the administrative head. You take responsibility, final responsibility for all administrative and financial management issues. And that's meant to differentiate the responsibility between the Director General as administrative head from the role of the minister who is the political head.
Okay. So a head of department, and in fact, the PSA talks about Schedule 1, columns 1 and 2, in designating the names of the heads of departments of various departments.
Yes.
In the case of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, the head of department is called Director General Justice and Constitutional Development.
That's correct.
And that's the position that you held.
Yes.
You say in the main, this position is about administrative issues.
Yes.
And you've mentioned the word, you said, not political issues which would be dealt with by the minister.
Yes.
And so that would define the role that you played as Director General. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you also mentioned in paragraph 2 that you also did your functions in terms of the Public Finance Management Act of 1999.
Yes, that's
What
correct.
did that entail?
As you'll know, the Public Finance Management Act makes provisions or determines the legislative framework for utilization of public resources as well as accountability for such utilization. And it creates a responsibility that we, similar to the Public Service Act, that we must be efficient as stewards of public finances and make sure that public finances are expended in accordance with the programs that they will have been voted for by Parliament.
So you had to make sure that the monies and funds appropriated by Parliament are spent prudently.
Prudently, that's correct.
I want to turn briefly to your qualifications. You deal with that in your supplementary affidavit
Yeah.
from page 2332.
That's correct.
And you stated paragraph 3 that you hold degrees B Proc, LLB, and LLM in international human rights.
That's correct.
And in paragraph 4, you define your employment background. Can you deal with that briefly?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Counsel.
Yes, paragraph 4.
Yes, paragraph 4, I confirm.
Yes, can you confirm that?
Yeah.
And you say your background employment spans from 2005 to 2005. 2004, 2002, 2002, 2005. You served as a senior state law advisor in the Department of Justice
Yes.
on constitutional development and human rights matters.
Yes.
Yeah, just tell the commission what your progression employment-wise as you deal with in paragraph 5. What do you say there?
Yeah. So I left the Department of Justice to join the then Department of Foreign Affairs, which is today called the Department of International Relations. I was a director there responsible for international humanitarian law until 2009. I was sent to be the Deputy Permanent Representative or Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations from that period, December 2004 until December 2014.
You say 2009.
2009 to December 2014. That's paragraph 5. And upon my return, of course, I have not included that part. I became the head of International Peace and Security and United Nations Political Affairs Matters until August 2019, when I joined the then Minister of Justice, Mr. Ronald Lamula, as a special advisor. And until March 2021, I assumed the responsibility of being the Director General of the Department of Justice until February 2026.
So you have a long and illustrious career in the public service from 2002 onwards.
Yeah, until recently, yeah.
And then if we can then turn back to your main affidavit, 2328, you deal with the purpose of your affidavit in paragraph 5,
That's correct.
and you say the purpose is to provide a full, candid and accurate response to the Commission's report for information and to explain the constitutional and statutory framework governing your responsibilities during your tenure as Director General, and you've taken note of the mandate of the Commission as expressly outlined in the letter of request for information. In paragraph 6, you deal with the constitutional and statutory framework. Can you, in your own words, explain why it's important for you and what you want to deal with in paragraph 6 under the heading Constitutional and Statutory Framework?
Yes. It's important because to make this reflection, because as the Director General can only do or carry out any function that is assigned in terms of the Constitution, the law, and policies. And insofar as the National Prosecution Authority is concerned, in terms of the Constitution, Section 179, the NPA, the prosecutorial responsibility vests with the National Director of Public Prosecution. And the Director General is not mentioned there in that section. Now, when you come to the statutes, as I've explained previously, the two critical statutes for the responsibility of the Director General is the Public Service Act, 1994 as amended, as well as the Public Finance Management Act, 1999 as amended. And of course, the National Prosecution Act gives effect to that Section 179 of the Constitution in terms of the creation of the NPA as the agency, and the responsibilities, of course, of the National Director of Public Prosecution, and the responsibilities that the Minister is allocated in terms of the National Prosecution Act. And of course, there is a reference to the Director General, but the relationship or the reference in terms of the National Prosecution Act to the Director General is limited to administrative matters as well as financial management matters. So I think that's very important that one reflect that part, that there's no relationship, any other relationship between the Director General and the National Director of Public Prosecution, be it in the form of reporting, supervision, or any other form of relationship other than what the two legislations and to an extent the National Prosecution Act bestows upon the Director General.
If you may pause there for a moment. When you talk about the relation between the Director General of Justice and the NPA, as governed in the National Prosecuting Authority Act 32 of 1998, there's a section there which deals with executive expenditure of prosecuting authority.
Yes.
That's the section that you are referring to.
That's the section I'm referring to.
But in the main, you are saying the prosecution policy resides strictly within the National Prosecution Authority and the National Director of Public Prosecutions.
That's correct. And the
the
Director General is not drawn into prosecutorial matters by any piece of legislation or policy.
Yes, because then Section 36 of the NPA Act says, 1, the expenses incurred in connection with A, the exercise of the powers, the carrying out of the duties and the performance and functions of the prosecuting authority, and the remuneration and other conditions of service of members of the prosecuting authority shall be defrayed out of monies appropriated by Parliament for that purpose.
That's correct.
That refers to the budget which
To the budget.
Parliament allocates to
Yes.
the Department of
Yes.
Justice. Then it says, paragraph 2, the Department of Justice must, in consultation with the National Director, prepare the necessary estimate of revenue and expenditure of the prosecuting authority.
Yes.
And 3, which is what we're talking about, the role of the Director General. It says, subsection 3, the Director General of Justice shall, subject to the Public Finance Management Act 1999, be charged with the responsibility of accounting for state monies received or paid out for or on account of the prosecuting authority, and B, cause the necessary accounting and other related records to be kept.
That's correct.
So those are the functions of the Director General.
Yes.
And then sub 5 says the Director General of Justice may, on the recommendation of the National Director and with the concurrence of the Minister of Finance, order that the expenses or any part of the expenses incurred by any person in the course of or in the connection with an investigation contemplated in section 28(1) be paid from state funds to that person.
That's correct.
But again, these are financial issues
Yes.
which the DG is asked to deal with.
Yes.
And that is what you deal with under the constitutional and statutory framework.
That's correct.
And in paragraph 7 of your affidavit, at page 2328, perhaps 6, you say the National Prosecution Authority constitutes program 4 of the department's strategic plan for planning, for budgeting, financial management, administrative support purposes.
That's correct.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that every government department or every public entity, including the NPA, is required in terms of the Treasury rules and regulations to report to Parliament, first on the plan, the annual performance plan, and 2, annual reporting. So for the purposes of the Department of Justice, because the budget for the NPA and the Department of Justice is one and it's called Vote 25, so it gets voted by Parliament as one budget, even though the amount that must go to the NPA is determined, but the vote is the same. So when we develop a strategic plan that we submit to Parliament for approval, we have, for financial purposes, a program called Program 4, that's the NPA. So the NPA doesn't submit to Parliament a separate strategic plan for purposes of budgeting, but is done by the Department of Justice. So in other words, the NPA is a program for budgeting and planning purposes in the plan of the Department of Justice, in order then to have the money transferred to the NPA for utilization, and equally for reporting purposes. When we report to the Auditor General for auditing purposes, the NPA gets audited under the Department of Justice. So you will never have the Auditor General say the NPA has been qualified in terms of how they have expended their resources. If there's something that doesn't go well in terms of administration and finances in the NPA, it will be attributed to the Department of Justice. So in other words as well, when we report on performance and say the Department of Justice achieved the following targets in terms of percentage, that is inclusive of the NPA, because they are a program in the Department of Justice. So that's only for the administrative and financial management purposes.
While you're talking about the reporting, how would the reporting be dealt with on 2 issues? You were confined to administrative and financial issues and issues of budgeting and resource allocation.
Yes.
The NPA, as we know, deals with other issues of substance,
Yes.
prosecutions, and all that.
Yes.
Would you report on the functions of the NPA in as far as prosecutorial functions are concerned?
No, the responsibility of the Director General in terms of reporting purposes is exclusively limited to administrative as well as financial. So when we report to Parliament and Treasury and Auditor General, the Director General only takes responsibility for the administrative related matters in terms of the Public Service Act, as well as the financial management related matters. So the prosecutorial matters is an exclusive responsibility of the National Director to provide a report both to the Minister as well as to Parliament. But the Director General only reports on the administrative matters because of the budget that will have been allocated to the NPA. So in other words, we account and say, for argument's sake, I think the budget was over 3 billion to 4 billion. We account for that 3 billion to 4 billion, which will have gone to salaries, will have gone to accommodation, will have gone to other, related, expenses. That's the responsibility that we account for, but will not be responsible for accounting on the substantive mandate of the National Prosecution Authority, which is prosecutorial responsibilities.
And then coming to this commission, if there were issues about the speed or lack of speed of prosecution of TRC cases,
Yes.
who would report to Parliament on that?
The National Director of Public Prosecution, in terms of the Act, has a responsibility to report to both the Minister and Parliament, and never to the Director General. And the Director General is never expected to report on prosecutorial matters, delays, slow pace, or non-prosecution whatsoever. That's the exclusive responsibility of the National Director of Public Prosecution.
Then if you turn to page 2329 of your main affidavit, paragraph 8, you emphasize that Section 179 of the Constitution of the National Prosecuting Authority Act 1998 vests prosecutorial authority in the National Director of Public Prosecution and prosecutor acting under that authority.
That's
This is the
correct.
point you made.
Yes.
Then you say neither, at paragraph 9, neither the Constitution or the National Prosecuting Authority conferred upon me any authority to direct, supervise, influence, or participate in prosecutorial decision making.
That's correct.
Then paragraph 10, you then say, having outlined the legal framework governing my office, I respond to the information requested by the Commission. And 10.1.1, can you read that and explain now in relation to the direct responses to the
I had no direct or indirect role, function, responsibility, or statutory mandate in relation to investigation and prosecutions of TRC matters. So in terms of the law and the responsibility that I had as the Director General or any other Director General, there is no provision in law that brings the Director General to anything to do with investigation or prosecution of any matter, including the TRC related matters.
That's the point you make at 10.1.
Yes.
And then 10.2, I think you emphasize that you are an accounting officer of the department
Yes.
and that you neither advised nor supported the executive authority or ministry in relation to decisions concerning TRC related matters.
That's correct.
Now, if the minister had to deal with a question or issue about the progress or lack of progress in TRC matters, would they not bring that to attention as a Director General?
It will only be brought to the attention of, we'll call it administration, because the DG is the head of administration, be brought to the attention of administration for purposes of administrative and financial management related matters. If whatever that the minister is dealing with the NDPP has financial implication. But if it's exclusively prosecutorial, the Director General has no role. So even in terms of practice, what the NDPP will do on matters that are not administrative will communicate directly with the minister and will only come through the Director General in the department if there is financial or administrative matters. And administrative matters in this case will include personnel. Because if they need to hire additional prosecutors or fill vacancies, that has financial implications. So before that expense can be approved, that will require the Director General to confirm that there is money or the money can be expended for that particular purpose. But any other discussion between the minister and the National Director of Public Prosecution, the Director General is not involved. There is no statutory authority to have any form of input or comment on such matters.
Then I'm going to move to your supplemental affidavit. 2335, paragraph 14. You say, I'm aware that the Commission is investigating allegations of efforts to stop or delay the investigation or prosecution of TRC cases. What I can recall is that when I joined the Department of Justice in 2019, the issue concerning TRC cases was already being discussed in the context of allegations of interference and delays in prosecutions. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yes, my explanation is that at that time, the understanding the mandate of the commission, at the time the discussion was not whether there should be a prosecution of TRC cases. It was now about the allegations, and as I later explained, also because of the Rodriguez case that had already gone through the High Court, the Gauteng and North, and that had become an issue. So by the time I rejoined the department in August 2019, that was the discussion now of that there are allegations that the TRC cases have not been prosecuted or are not being prosecuted because there's an allegation of political interference.
You deal with that more pointedly in paragraph 13 of your affidavit.
That's correct.
You say, my recollection of the TRC case is that the Rodriguez matter brought renewed attention to allegations of non-prosecution interference in TRC-related cases. I do not recall being assigned responsibility for advising the minister specifically on whether any TRC matter should be prosecuted. Any involvement I may have had would have been document-based, arising from memoranda, reports, requests, or other submissions from the National Prosecution Authority to the minister, which at this stage I do not recall given the length of time since I've been in office.
That's correct.
Do you want to explain what you mean by that?
Yes, and I think here then I also bring in my responsibility as the special advisor to the minister, that during this case, so as an advisor, my advice will have been document-based in the sense that if the NDPP, of course, will not also report to an advisor, will have submitted documents in the form of memoranda to the minister. If the minister required my view on such a memoranda, will have then given me the memoranda to have a look at it, and I will provide an advice to the minister on how to deal with such a matter. So that's what I'm referring to, that I don't recall. The only recollection.
One of the findings or recommendations of the Rodriguez case was that the NDPP must carry out investigations.
Yes.
You recall that?
Yes, I do.
Did you have any involvement in carrying out the findings of the Rodriguez?
I don't. As a Director General, I will not have the responsibility. That will be solely the responsibility of the NDPP. Of course, carrying out investigations will require resources. Even when it comes to resources, the Director General doesn't have the power to allocate to the NPA a budget. That's done by Treasury and supported by Portfolio Committee and Parliament. All the Director General will be called upon to do is to account for such additional resources that will have been made available. And I think, I can't remember which paragraph, I do make the point that I recall scantily that before our arrival in the department, the National Director of Public Prosecution had taken some steps to capacitate a unit called PSLU, Priority Crimes Litigation Unit, which also had the additional responsibility for dealing with the TRC cases. So they will have classified the TRC cases as priority cases that will fall under, because I know as well that the one complaint was lack of investigators in that unit, or lack of capacity in broad terms, and the NDPP was attending to that.
Would that be paragraph 17?
Oh, that would be
Page 2336.
Oh, yes. Yes. Maybe, Council, I'm sorry I've jumped too much, but I was trying to make that point.
Yeah, but before we get there,
Yeah.
you make the point about the capacity of TRC matters by the NPA at paragraph 14.
Yes.
Yes, you
That's
say-
paragraph 14, yes. So that's where that the NDPP was working on building the capacity, and there was some form of a special project. But that would have required the Department of Public Service and Administration, one for purposes of the structure, but also National Treasury for purposes of additional budget. And that was done before, if I recall, before I became the Director General or before I joined the department, because the NDPP will have been an NDPP from 2018. So, but I don't recall ever the NDPP in this regard seeking assistance from me after engaging both departments.
Okay. And you emphasize a point in paragraph 15 that if there was any support or involvement from the minister required by the NPA, I believe that it would have been to assist the national director to obtain resources, capacity, or cooperation from other government sector actors such as the police or relevant departments, and not on any matter to direct prosecutorial outcomes.
That's correct.
And that is because of your position as the head of department
That's
and
correct.
accounting officer.
That's correct.
You deal with further what you've explained with the Rodriguez case at paragraph 17 and then 18, which we'll come to in a moment. You say, I became aware that at the time of the Rodriguez cases involving alleged interference in prosecution of certain TRC cases, I also became aware of other matters which had been referred for inquest to be opened. As the Director General, I have no direct interaction or involvement in such processes. These matters fell squarely within the office of the Minister. I recall, by way of example, that inquiries such as the Honey family inquest request would come to my attention administratively, but I would refer or direct matters to the appropriate office, including the National Director where they've been dealt with.
That's correct.
So in other words, if any family would require that an inquest be held into the death of their loved one, you would only deal with that administratively, as you say.
That's correct.
You would not be involved in the substance of the application for an inquest.
Yes, and mainly because being Department of Justice being broad, what I've made a reference to a specific family here is that either the legal representatives of such families will bring this to our attention, but also even in terms of the Inquest Act, the Director General has no role and will take such matters directly to the National Director of Public Prosecution, and they will process them. They will require no motivation or support from the Director General, save for purposes if they do over and above what they have as their budget, or to report an account on how much they are spending on such activities, without necessarily the Director General having to have a view or comment on whether to have the inquest or not.
And then paragraph 17, which Commissioner Khomo drew your attention to, you say, I believe there may be documents that could help refresh my memory, including memoranda, reports, opinions, requests, or submissions of the NPA to the Minister concerning the Rodriguez matter, the prosecution of TRC cases, the capacity of the TRC or PCL unit, or any special project related to TRC prosecutions. But again, if those things were brought to your attention, it would be in your capacity as accounting officer.
That's correct, Councillor.
You would only provide administrative support.
That's correct.
And then paragraph 18, you say you believe that such documents may be in the custody of the National Prosecuting Authority and or Department of Justice and Criminal Development, including Office of Director General. I would also expect that documents concerning requests for additional resources, investigators' capacity, or interdepartmental cooperation may help to place the relevant events in context. Obtaining this information would greatly assist me in providing detailed information to the Commission, and I request the Commission to request the documents from the institutions mentioned herein. But in the main, you still maintain that you had no direct involvement with
That's correct.
the substance of TRC cases.
That's correct.
Now, just to go back to the reporting functions to Parliament. It's common cause that the minister would have to appear in Parliament to give a report and account about the functions and activities of the Department of Justice.
That's correct.
And you would be involved in assisting the minister to make that report.
Yes.
In as far as the NDPP, would the minister report on the NDPP, or would there be a separate report?
So there will be two actually distinct forms of reporting. You will have the typical performance-based reporting, which then the minister as the political head has the responsibility to address Parliament and introduce the report, and the Director General as the administrative head then takes the responsibility then to account on performance and financial expenditure in terms of the two pieces of legislation that I referred to earlier. And in that report will include both the performance of the department and the performance of the NPA. So this is your typical reporting in terms of the performance plans. So give an example that the NPA will say we had targeted to prosecute 100, to convict maybe out of 100 cases, 50% convictions for murder and robbery. So we'll have that included in the report, indicate whether they achieved that target and how much was spent. That will be the normal report. So the minister will have introduced that report as any other minister will do for their different departments. But as what we know for the NPA, the NPA Act requires that the NDPP compiles, and they do that, compile a separate report, both for the minister and Parliament. And when the NDPP and the team appear before Parliament on the report required by the NPA Act, we will not be involved as the department or as the administrative head and the officials of the department. That will be exclusively the responsibility of the NDPP interacting with Parliament as required by the NPA Act. And in that respect as well, Minister will not necessarily be required to be part of that reporting to Parliament. That will be the NDPP reporting to Parliament.
You are referring to Section 35 of the NPA Act, 35(1), which reads, "The prosecuting authority shall be accountable to Parliament in respect of its powers, functions, and duties under this Act, including decisions regarding the institution of prosecutions."
That's correct.
And 2A, 35(2)(a), the National Director must submit annually, not later than the first day of September, to the Minister a report referred to in Section 22(4)(g), which report must be tabled in Parliament by the Minister within 14 days. If Parliament is then in session, or if Parliament is not in session, within 14 days after the commencement of its next ensuing session. And the National Director may at any time submit a report to the Minister or Parliament with regard to any matter relating to prosecuting authority, or if he or she deems it necessary.
That's correct.
That's what you're referring to.
That's what I'm referring to.
And then in your, turning back to your to your supplementary affidavit, you deal in conclusion at paragraph 19. You can read that aloud with the correction which you have earlier.
You want it to read again? Yes, you may.
Just
Thank you very much,
in
Commissioner.
conclusion, yes,
No.
yeah.
This affidavit is intended to provide the Commission with context regarding the respective roles of the Minister, the National Prosecuting Authority, and the Director General. I have done so by illustrating the different roles played by the Minister, the National Director of Public Prosecution, and the Director General. In doing so, I confirm that I have not been involved in any attempt to stop, pause, delay, or interfere with the investigation or prosecution of TRC cases.
Thank you. Just before we finish off, have you ever received any request for funding for additional investigators from the NPA?
I don't recall, so I wouldn't say, as I've indicated earlier, that maybe some documents could, refresh my memory, but I don't recall receiving requests for additional funding for TRC cases. I do always remember that there were recently, before I left, there were always requests for additional funding for IDEC.
All right, thank you. And I mean, in conclusion, in paragraph 20, you make the point that your involvement at all TRC cases was administrative, advisory, or resource related, and dependent on requests, reports, or memoranda initiated by the National Prosecuting Authority or directed through the department.
That's correct.
Thank you. I mean, is there anything else which you think the commission should, which you want to bring to the commission for assistance with this work, other than what we have already told us?
No, I don't have.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner. Chair, the Commissioner's Chair, that's the questions for the witness. And I'm told that on MS Teams we have Advocate Mchizana, Advocate Ntloko, and Advocate Rikhoso. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Nalane. Ms. Kesri?
Thank you, Chair. No questions of clarification
Thank
for this
you.
witness.
Ms. Ntambeleni?
Thank you, Chair. No questions for this witness.
Mr. Lukele?
Thank you, Chair. No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Mchizana? No response from Ms. Mchizana. Ms. Ntloko? No response from Ms. Ntloko. Ms. Rikhoto? No response from Ms. Rikhoto. Mr. Vani?
Chair, just a few questions by way of clarification.
Yes.
Advocate Mashabane, thanks for coming to the Commission and supporting our work. If I can take you back to
Sorry,
your role...
Mr. Nalani, you can switch off your mics for the time being. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Coleman. Advocate Mashabane, if I can take you back to your role as a senior state law advisor in the Department of Justice, and those were during the years 2002 to 2005. We've taken a look in the evidence to see whether state law advisors had any role to play in relation to the TRC cases, and we only came across one reference to two senior state law advisors being consulted about the TRC cases back in 2004. This was when the Amnesty Task Team was asked to give advice on how to manage those cases. They consulted with two senior state law advisors. Would I be right in saying that you were not one of those advisors?
I was not one of those. Even during that time in that role, I've never had to interact with the TRC matters in that responsibility.
Thank you. Just for the Commission's reference, that's in Kalata Group Bundle 1. That's at page 345 at paragraph 2.1. Do you know who might have been those state law advisors?
No, I have no idea, because we will have been in the unit branch dealing with constitutional matters as well as human rights matters, not the mainstream office of the Chief State Law Advisor. So those will have been the colleagues in the office of the Chief State Law Advisor.
And there probably would have been quite a large number of state law advisors.
Yeah, that's correct.
If we can take you to your page 2335 of your supplementary affidavit, to your paragraph 13, which you have dealt with previously.
Yes.
And actually, that's the second paragraph, 13. I see there was a little issue with the paragraph numbering. It goes from 14 to 13, but we'll just describe it as the second 13.
Yes.
Here you say, my recollection of the TRC cases is that the Rodriguez matter brought renewed attention to allegations of non-prosecution and interference in TRC-related cases. I'll just skip a line. Any involvement I may have had would have been document-based, arising from memoranda, reports, requests, or other submissions from the NPA to the Minister, which at this stage I do not recall. Just thinking back to that case, do you recall that in the Rodriguez matter, the NPA conceded that interference had disrupted their work on the TRC cases?
Yes, I do recall that.
And do you also recall that the Minister of Justice, who was a respondent, did not contest the position of the NPA?
Yes, I do.
If we can move to the next paragraph, 14, here you make reference to measures that were being considered to strengthen the NPA's capacity to handle the TRC cases, including a special project or a dedicated capacity to fast-track them. Can you elaborate on that special project, if you can? And do you recall requests from various families and the Foundation for Human Rights for a dedicated capacity?
Yes, that I do recall, and I specifically I was mentioning that the National Director of Advocate Shamila Batowi, prior, just few months I think before our arrival, would have reached out to Treasury and DPSA for this special project. But from that point, I don't then recall whether she got positive responses from both departments for her to build this capacity or not.
Thank you. If we can turn to the next page of paragraph 16, you say you do recall, by way of example, that inquiries such as the Hani family inquest request would come to my attention administratively, but you would refer these to the appropriate office, including the National Director.
That's correct.
Do you recall what happened to the Hani family inquest request? What was a decision ever made?
I don't recall the decision, but I do recall that this matter specifically was brought to my attention, but I raised it as well with the NTPP, that they raised this request from the Hani family, and the response from the NPA was that they were attending to it. So the discussion then became between the NPA and the Minister directly, because the Director General has no role. And I had done so because one legal representative had called me as well on behalf of the family to inquire about it, and I did give indication that I have referred this matter to the NPA because they have to make a decision on it.
Thank you. And then lastly, in paragraph 18, you indicate that you request the Commission to request documents from the NPA and or the Department of Justice dealing with the request for additional resources, investigative capacity, and the like. Have those documents been supplied to you?
No, not yet.
But if they are supplied, would you be willing to assist the Commission further?
Yes, if they are supplied, then they will assist a great deal to refresh my memory if I have left anything else here. Because when I see them, I will have seen what I will have said on those documents as well. So I will be willing to assist the Commission with additional information.
Thank you so much, Advocate. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vani. Mr. Nalani?
Flowing from the question,
Both microphones.
flowing from the question about paragraph 18.
Paragraph?
18 of your supplementary affidavit. The NPA and the department, the reports which they have filed or they had to file, would they be available within the department or parliament?
Reports should be available both in Parliament. You mean the reporting annual reports too?
Yes.
Yes, those reports should be available in Parliament as well as in the department and in the ministry. Yeah.
Yes, Chair, would request that the representatives of the Department of Justice and the Prosecution Authority should make those documents available, the reports available to the evidence leaders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Advocate Mashabani, we thank you for having come before this commission to give evidence. This is greatly appreciated. You are now excused as a witness.
Thank you very much, my indebtedness.
Mr. Siminya?
That is the business of the commission for the day.
Yes. These proceedings are adjourned until tomorrow at 10 o'clock.